Hey everyone, we're back with another module, and this one is a mindset piece this is a new one for me that I kind of just started working on and unpacking to my clients, and I think there's tremendous value here in this. It's really how I view how you should and can look at 10xing your career growth. So I also have a slide presentation that goes along with this to really exemplify this. And the way I like to unpack this is I like to think about sports and athletes and how they approach being the best in the world much differently than songwriters and artists. So let's take a look at these slides here and I'll unpack this for you. All right, so we've got 10x career growth is what happens in between your sessions. And by sessions, I mean your songwriting sessions. Maybe you're writing with other co-writers. Maybe you're just writing by yourself. Whatever that is, I really believe that you could spend all your time just stacking your calendar with songwriting sessions, and by the end of the year, yeah, you might have some good results. But I think that you can really compound and exponentiate your growth by doing what I'm going to show you here. So let's take a look at this. Now, I talked about athletics earlier. So if we were to look at this, let's say you're an athlete, maybe an aspiring Olympian, or you're in a football team, or you're a tennis player, or you're a swimmer, whatever that is. Let's say you have 200 matches for the year. And that might sound like a lot, but in the world of songwriting, if you're a professional songwriter or you're an artist who is working all the time on your craft and your music, it's very likely that out of 365 days, you're spending 200 of those days, even if it's 5 days a week times 50 weeks, that's like 250 game days. So the idea here is that your songwriting session is the proverbial game day to the athlete. So let's check this out. So let's say there's 200 games in a year, and what happens in between those games? Like, they just don't go from tennis match to tennis match to tennis match, or to football game to football game to football game without what? Without practice, without tons of practice. So there's like an enormous amount of the majority of that time when it's not game day, they're practicing, okay? So what else is happening there? There is coaching. There's an experienced coach in the mix that is holding people to their accountable, holding people to their bar, and also knowing how to unpack and unleash and give commentary on how to improve and to be their objectivity. So, a great gymnastics coach is just not going to say, yeah, you kind of stuck that landing, but hey, great job. No, they're going to go back and they're going to rehearse and see how they can improve this performance. So, and then what else is there? There's manifestation and visualization. You've probably heard of basketball players visualizing them shooting the ball right through the net. Or if you're a sprinter, you're crossing the finish line in first place, and these mental routines and visualization. So it's hugely important. And then what else happens? You've got mindset, identity, and beliefs that are being worked on. And those athletes are pushing through their physical and mental boundaries. So if you are a bodybuilder or you're lifting weights, and we all know that to improve muscles, you've got to break them down first before they can build back bigger. And to do that, you have to push through boundaries. And then you also have some post-game review where you can review things and see, how did things go? So that's how, if you want to be the best in the world, this is the standard on an athletics level. But for some weird reason, I think writers and artists and musicians in this creative world, they kind of get a pass on this. And I think it's mostly because it's like, no, man, like, it's just inspiration and I'm inspired and what do you mean doing work in between the sessions? This isn't supposed to be work. This is supposed to be me with my creativity and sharing that with the world. And yeah, okay, but just stick with me here, and I'm going to unpack how I think this is going to be incredibly beneficial for you. So let's take a look here, and let's go to the next slide. That one. Let's go to this one. So this is what I feel is most writers and artists. So you might have those 200 sessions in the year, and what happens is you start the year January 1 with session number 1, and then you go all the way to session number 200 by the end of the year. And what happens? You just keep going to the same session, writing session, and by the end of all that process, what I think is that those people are kind of almost the same type of person at session number 200 that they were at session number 1. Why? Because they're marginally a little bit better, because they're gaining experience, they're picking up really cool ideas and creativity from their co-writers, but they're kind of essentially the same person. So, as I say here, showing up to your next co-write, aka your game day, as mostly the same person. And what do we see also with those arrows? You see that the effort and the grind is like that, and then you've got results are below that. So you're actually, these people, I see a lot of people putting in tons of effort and grind, where their level of effort and grind are here, and the results, it should be the opposite way. You're putting in all these this effort and grind, and the results should be way up here, but actually the results can be less. And then what happens is that it's frustrating. You get to the end of the year and you look back, I did 200 sessions, where are my results? So how do we change this? How can we 10x our career and exponentiate and compound our growth? So this is what I think. Now, you notice that the previous slide, there was 200 sessions. In this slide, there's only 100. So what's happening is this writer and or artist is putting in what I call the work in between the sessions. Now, it's not just between session number 1 and session 10. It's like every other session. Whenever they can, they're working on things like their songwriting vocabulary expander, which is basically learning more songs, standing on the shoulders of giants, and then modeling those hits. I mean, imagine if you were able to learn 50 to 100 new songs of the classics or the best or whatever's on the charts, and then internalize that and make that part of your DNA, and then model those hits. Find out what makes them tick. What's the DNA of that? And if you look through the course, we have a module and it tells you exactly how to do that. Also, working on your inner work, your mindset, your beliefs, and your identity. And those are things we also unpack in this course, like maybe it's meditation, or it's doing the work of Joe Dispenza, or a Tony Robbins program, or setting up goals, or going through a goal setting program. It's also manifesting and visualization of your success. And whenever I can, I spend probably 3 or 4 hours a day in that visualization, a lot with the work of Joe Dispenza, and it's tremendously helpful. And you become addicted to your future success versus being addicted to your familiar past. So that's incredibly valuable. And then what else happens in between all these sessions? Coaching and mentorship. So hopefully you can find someone, maybe it's a publisher, or maybe it's a manager, or maybe it's some type of mentor that can work with you in between these sessions, so you can really maximize your results. And then we also have like life experiences. I think that's incredibly important as well. As I mentioned here in the bullet points, a writer artist in the 10x career growth phase uses all the elements above and more to do the work. This is the important growth work done in between the songwriting sessions. So now I will note, this is even at the risk of a writer/artist scheduling 50% less songwriting sessions for the year. the work is probably as or more valuable than just putting in another session. And that's a mindset flip as well to be working on, because when I sit down and I have to do my meditations, I say have to do. I shouldn't actually say it that way. I should be excited to do my meditations or to do my growth work, because I'm actually. I used to think that time is being taken away from getting my emails done or pitching this song or signing this writer, but actually it's adding to and compounding all those things that you want to be achieving. So that's an important way to flip this. And so when it comes time to be doing these things like songwriting, vocabulary expander, modeling hits, manifesting visualization, working with a coach, it's not taking away time from your creativity. It's adding to it. So that's a really important mindset tip. So what I would ask someone at this point is, well, which writer or artist, if you were me, which person would you sign? Would you sign the person that's just like going through endless writing sessions, even if it's writing sessions on their own, 200 of those? Or would you invest in and take a bet on the person that's doing 50% less sessions, 100 sessions, but they're putting in all this other valuable, they're putting in time and doing the work in these valuable resources. So that's what I've got here in the slide. The slide deck. I hope that you found it to be enlightening, and that's how I think great writers and artists exponentiate and 10x their growth. So hope to see you and get after your game day, and which is your session day, and do the work in between the sessions. And I'll see you at the next module.